Roger Federer. Have you ever had a job where they kept paying you millions, even after you stopped showing up for work? Like, you clocked out one day, handed back your badge, and the money just kept rolling in anyway? Well, Roger Federer basically cracked that code, and then had the nerve to also win 20 Grand Slams while doing it. At number 10 on our list, Federer sits on a net worth of around $1.1 billion. And here's the wild part. The bulk of that didn't come from tennis. It came from a shoe company. In 2018, he walked away from Nike after decades together and signed a jaw-dropping $300 million deal with Japanese clothing brand Uniqlo that would last 10 years. And then, almost quietly, he bought into a small Swiss running shoe company called On. That company went public in 2021, and suddenly, Federer's stake was worth hundreds of millions. He retired in 2022 with a bum knee and $1 billion in the bank. The man who gave us 20 Grand Slams, 310 weeks at world number 1, and an endorsement portfolio that includes Rolex and Mercedes-Benz, basically turned a sneaker investment into a fortune that most countries would envy. Magic Johnson. Well, if you think a retired tennis player making billions off a shoe company is impressive, wait till you hear about a basketball player who turned a coffee shop into a sports empire. At number 9, Magic Johnson made roughly $40 million during his entire NBA career. That's it, $40 million over 15 seasons of being one of the greatest players who ever lived. And somehow, that became over $1.2 billion. Imagine finishing your entire sports career with $40 million in the bank and then multiplying it by 30 through sheer business genius. That's not a motivational poster. That's Magic Johnson. After retiring in 1991 following his HIV diagnosis, Johnson didn't fade away quietly. He pivoted so hard into business that the sports world barely had time to blink. He bought Starbucks franchises in underserved neighborhoods that other investors had ignored, ran them brilliantly, and sold them back to Starbucks at a massive profit. He then picked up ownership stakes in the LA Dodgers, the LA Sparks, and the Washington Commanders. These days, Magic Johnson's name appears less in basketball record books and more in investment portfolios. Floyd Mayweather. Now, speaking of knowing when to walk away, nobody played that card quite like our number 8, except he turned walking away from fights into an art form and charged the world $275 million to watch him do it. If you were Floyd Mayweather, your office would literally be a boxing ring. Your coworkers would be people trying to knock your head off, and your performance bonus for one night's work would be enough to buy a small island. Mayweather went 50 fights without a single loss, 5 weight classes, 0 defeats. And he didn't just fight his way to a fortune, he built a promotion company so he could keep the pay-per-view money himself, which is honestly the kind of business move they should teach in schools. His fight against Conor McGregor alone pulled in $275 million for him personally. Career earnings top $1.2 billion. He was not called money because he saved it, but because he made more of it than almost anyone alive. Honestly, the only thing that came close to beating Floyd Mayweather was his own spending habits. The jets, the watches, the $18 million diamond-encrusted timepiece, the IRS showing up in 2017 asking for $22 million in back taxes, 50 fights, 0 losses, one very complicated relationship with a savings account. And if you are enjoying this breakdown so far, do us a solid and hit that subscribe button right now. We drop videos just like this one every single week, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. Lionel Messi. While Floyd was busy making and spending billions, our number 7 entry was quietly becoming the richest footballer on the planet just by being alive on Instagram. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be so good at something that a city literally riots in the streets because you moved away? That's basically a Tuesday for Lionel Messi. Born in Rosario, Argentina, Messi was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency at age 10. FC Barcelona looked at this small kid who couldn't grow properly and decided to pay for his medical treatment themselves. And that decision ended up producing 8 Ballon d'Or awards, the most in the history of football. 8. As if growing up with a medical condition that nearly ended his career before it started wasn't enough. The Messi then watched his beloved Barcelona implode financially in 2021 and had to leave the club that had been his entire life since childhood. He bounced through Paris, landed in Miami, and somehow turned an MLS contract worth $60 million a year, plus a cut of Apple TV revenues into a global brand that just kept growing. His Adidas endorsement, his Miami hotels, his Maz Plus sports drink, his 500 million Instagram followers, the kid who almost never made it ended up making more than almost anyone ever has, with a net worth pushing close to $1 billion and climbing. LeBron James. Coming in at number 6 is a man who somehow became a billionaire while also finding time to own a pizza chain, a tequila brand, part of a Premier League football club, and still play in the NBA. LeBron James became the first active NBA player to hit billionaire status. And he did it the way he does everything, loudly, strategically, and while making it look easy. Imagine being so good at your job that Nike signs you to a lifetime deal worth an estimated $1 billion before you even turn 20. That is exactly what happened when LeBron came straight out of high school in 2003, and Nike decided he was worth betting on forever. He has since built Spring Hill Entertainment into a $725 million media company, picked up an ownership stake in Liverpool FC through Fenway Sports Group, launched Lobos 1707 Tequila, and opened the I Promise School in his hometown of Akron, Ohio. Off the court in 2025, he was pulling in around $85 million from endorsements alone, on top of his Lakers salary. LeBron James did not just play the game. He bought the stadium, produced the movie, co-owned the football club, and poured the drinks at the after party, all while still actually playing basketball at an age when most players have already retired twice. Tiger Woods. Well, speaking of guys who turned a sport into a personal empire, our number 5 built his so thoroughly that the sport itself became inseparable from his name. If you were Tiger Woods in 1996, you would be 20 years old, just turning professional, and Nike would walk up and hand you a $40 million check before you had played a single professional round, just because of the way you swung a golf club. Tiger went on to win 82 PGA Tour events, tying the all-time record, and collected 15 major championships across a career that somehow survived a catastrophic personal scandal in 2009, multiple car accidents, and so many back surgeries that doctors weren't sure he would ever walk properly again. He came back anyway. His 2019 Masters win is still called one of the greatest sporting comebacks in history. Nike ended up paying him an estimated $700 million over the course of their partnership before the deal concluded in 2024. He then launched his own apparel brand, Sunday Red, with TaylorMade. His TGR design company builds golf courses for the ultra-wealthy around the world. Net worth today sits at approximately $1.3 billion. Tiger didn't just play golf. He convinced an entire generation that golf was the coolest thing on the planet and then charged them $700 million to prove it. Cristiano Ronaldo. If you were born on the tiny island of Madeira off the coast of Portugal, and you grew up sharing a room with 3 siblings while your father worked as a kit man at the local football club, $1 billion would probably sound like a fairy tale. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo did not get that memo. He left Madeira at 12 years old to join the Sporting Lisbon Academy and reportedly cried himself to sleep that first night alone, far from home. That kid is now the highest followed human being on the internet, with 629 million Instagram followers, more than the entire population of Europe. His move to Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr landed him a contract reportedly worth $200 million per year, the largest in the history of sport. His CR7 brand spans hotels, gyms, fragrances, and a clothing line that generates hundreds of millions in revenue independently of anything that happens on a football pitch. A KACR7, aka the man who turned Instagram into a personal television network, aka the kid from Madeira who now has a net worth of approximately $1.4 billion. He grew up sharing a room with 3 siblings and ended up owning the hotels. If you are not subscribed yet, now would be a great time. Hit that button below and join the family. There is so much more on the way. Arnold Palmer, one more rank to go after this. But first, here is a man who proved that sometimes the best business idea in the world is something you can order at a restaurant. Arnold Palmer won 7 major championships and is largely credited with bringing golf to everyday working Americans in the 1960s, making the sport accessible in a way it had never been before. He was the first athlete in any sport to earn $1 million in a single year. But the thing that turned him into an all-time financial legend was a drink. Iced tea, meat lemonade. Palmer started ordering this combination so often that it simply became known as an Arnold Palmer, and eventually Arizona Beverages licensed the name and turned it into one of the most recognized canned drinks in America. At its peak, that licensing deal was generating over $100 million a year. He passed away in 2016, and his estate is still earning. Inflation-adjusted career earnings sit at approximately $1.82 billion, according to Sportico's all-time list. 7 majors, 1 drink order, a billion-dollar legacy that proves the best business ideas are sometimes the ones that start with a thirsty afternoon. Michael Jordan. Well, if Arnold Palmer built his legacy with a glass of tea, our number 1 built his with a pair of sneakers. And what happened next is genuinely the greatest business story in the history of sport. If you were a high school sophomore in North Carolina in 1978 and your coach cut you from the varsity basketball team, you would probably take that as a sign. Michael Jordan heard that and decided the coach was simply mistaken. He went on to win 6 NBA championships with the Chicago Bulls, 6 finals MVP awards, 5 regular season MVP awards, and became so dominant that people genuinely ran out of ways to describe him. But here is the thing about Michael Jordan's wealth. It was not built in the arena. It was built in a boardroom. Nike signed him in 1984 for $500,000 a year. When he was a rookie, nobody was entirely sure about yet. That deal turned into the Jordan brand, which now generates $7 billion in annual sales. Not career earnings, not lifetime totals, but $7 billion every single year. He bought the Charlotte Hornets and sold his ownership stake for $3 billion. In 2024 alone, Nike paid him an estimated $300 million in royalties, more than any active athlete earned that year. Career earnings adjusted for inflation, $4.15 billion. Current net worth, approximately $3.5 billion. Nobody, not Ronaldo, not LeBron, not Tiger, has come close to what this man built from one shoe deal and an obsessive refusal to ever accept second place. And if you made it all the way to the end, you already know what to do. Smash that subscribe button and let us know in the comments who you think will be the first athlete to hit $10 billion. We will see you in the next one.